Hello, everyone. Let's try the lecture on lesson plans today. We're going to look at two areas, which will be lesson plans when it looks at Bloom's taxonomy and lesson plans as it relates to depth of knowledge. There are several key things we want to look at as we do this, and that'll be standards, objectives, and how to write a lesson plan. One thing I definitely want to talk about with lesson plans is how we format them and how we create tables. Because of that, I have a sample lesson plan, and the sample lesson plan looks like this. This is a sample lesson plan that has a very good part. You'll notice it says lesson plan format. It can just say lesson plan on it. And on the top, it has what grade you are teaching and what subject you are teaching. This is in landscape format, which is very easy to do with just under File, Page Setup, Landscape. The table on how to create a table like this, you would just need to play around with Microsoft Word and to insert a table. You'll notice as you look at this, 4 columns. The 4 columns are procedures, objectives, materials, assessment, and as well as a fourth they started introducing a couple of years ago, which asks some intake questions, and you can examine those. As you look at the objectives columns, look above that, and you'll see something called the competencies and correlation section. So whenever you build a unit, the first thing you'll need to ask is, what is a unit? So let's decide, make sure we understand what a unit is. Every teacher makes a lesson plan. A lesson plan is what you're looking at right now. A lesson plan is very detailed, and it is an item that you as a teacher will need to create on a day-by-day basis. Now, many times whenever you, in a real-world situation, when you get a job as a teacher, or some of y'all already have jobs, whenever you're working as a teacher or as a substitute, your principal will say, we need you to do a lesson plan for the week. We'll need to see copies of your lesson plans. So you'll ask your principal, well, what do y'all want from me when it comes to lesson plans? And your principal will say, well, just fill out this form right here. You'll fill out the form. It's very basic, very simple. And you'll say, well, that was easy. What we do at the college level is we learn how to make in-depth lesson plans that a skilled teacher can create. They do take some time to create, but the end result is a highly professional lesson plan that a substitute teacher could follow, that if the State Department comes in, they would respect, and that you as a teacher can have for years to come. Now, with that said, with lesson plans do take a while to create, and because of that, we like to put all our lesson plans in what are called units. A unit is a lesson plan over 10 days. So what you would do is you would create a unit, if you were in history, called World War I. So this unit would be over a 2-week period, and you would have daily lesson plans that would guide you towards the end result of the unit. So that's why whenever we create unit plans, we're creating them over a major topic area. Unit plans can be over what topic you want to. You can have a unit on the Great Depression, World War II, Vietnam. You can combine several topics together, women's rights, civil rights. You can do all of this together if you wish. That's why it's up to you on how you want to do that. So a lesson plan is a daily plan over what you're going to be teaching for that lesson. A unit plan is a series of lesson plans that guide you through a major unit. As you'll see, this is time consuming. But as a teacher, if we can build 3 or 4 units a year, then that's 40 days. And with 40 days, and after 4 years, you could have all the units you would need to teach an entire year. So make sure at this point you understand the difference between a unit and a lesson plan. A unit and a lesson plan. So what we're looking at right now is one page of a lesson plan of a major unit. So this unit is apparently about understand the civil rights movement. So this is a civil rights unit. So we decide what topic we want. And whenever you create a unit for me, then you can pick whatever topic you want, and you can create your own unit. So you decide what topic you want. You say, okay, I'm going to create, my unit's going to be on the civil rights movement. And then you need to decide where you're going to go with this unit. So this is a brainstorming exercise. What topics do you want to hit? So before you start putting out your first lesson plan, you really need to think, where do you want your 10 days to go? So for example, on Monday, I may want to do a pretest to decide what the students know and don't know. Tuesday, I need to bring in, I'm going to look at the civil rights movement. So what are some things I want to look at? Well, I need to look at the early civil rights movement, the 1950s. Look at the Emmett Till murder, perhaps the 1960s, and how Kennedy and Johnson differed and were the same. Need to bring in James Meredith at Ole Miss during the Kennedy presidency. I would need to look at the Little Rock integration, maybe Birmingham as well, and Selma. So I would look at the church bombing. All of these I would need to put in a concept map of where I want to go with all of this area. So whenever you create your unit, you don't want to just start on day one and kind of grope in the dark. You want to definitely try to figure out where you want to go with your unit before you even start. How do you want your unit to end? Generally and typically, many student teachers end their units in a test, a unit test. And that's why we have unit tests. So your first day could be an overview day, and your last day could be your test day. So then you would have to have 8 lesson plan days. So now we need to look at how to write just the first day of your lesson plan. And the first thing we do is we have our topic, we have our concept map. That's step 1. So concept map. And step 2 is deciding what your topics are and how they're going to align with the state standards. We as educators have state standards we must meet, or Mississippi framework guidelines that we must do. These are, so let's pause here and make sure we understand the Mississippi frameworks. The Mississippi frameworks were created by a large panel and approved by the Mississippi Department of Education. Their goal is to guide all the teachers in social studies and all the other topics to make sure they understand what is expected of them. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and do the app share program. And make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. So as we look at just a basic lesson plan, we see it looks like this. This is the basic lesson plan. So as you look at the basic lesson plan, you see the top line is the Mississippi competency correlations. So we need to. So as we look at this, the first column, second, third, fourth, and fifth, we need to now figure out what we want to do with the Mississippi competencies. So let's now see if we can find the Mississippi curriculum framework. So we want to align our objectives with the Mississippi framework. And the first step is you can do a Google search, but I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do it. You just go to the Mississippi Department of Education website, and this is what you'll find. Now you may say, how did I find that? Let me show you. If you go to Google and you type in the Mississippi Department of Education, you'll see the Mississippi Department of Education website. And then this is the basic website of the MDE. It is, well, it was better. It had videos embedded in it, and it had more of an area. But over the past couple of years, they've really changed a lot of the MDE website, and a lot of the links that were there on the 5 years ago are still there, but it's hard to find. So if that kind of makes sense, the front page used to have a lot of information, and that branched into other websites and other clicks. So the more you click, the deeper. It's like a tooth. The more you click, the deeper the root was. Well, they've eliminated a lot of that on the front page, but the root is still there, and that's created a little bit of a problem with the website. And that is, when you go to the front page and you're trying to find something, you really can't find it. So it's gotten to the point where you're going to have to do some keyword searches that you know already. So I really just go to the search box and you type in the word framework. And when you type in the framework, you'll get the Mississippi Curriculum Frameworks on the MDE website. And that's what you'll see. These are all the topics that are taught in schools in Mississippi. And in these, they have frameworks and subcategories for people to click on. So if you click on the Social Studies framework, you'll notice that they have the We the People exhibit, which, once again, is kind of confusing. There's this page right here. It's got Civil Rights Education in Mississippi PowerPoint, Archive, Social Studies Updates PowerPoint. So you kind of really don't know where to go. But where to go is right here. So you would just click on this, the Mississippi Social Studies Framework, and that's what open up this larger PDF file. So hopefully at this point you know now how to go and find the Mississippi Department of Education's curriculum standards for social studies and pretty much the state of Mississippi. Whenever you start teaching at a school, generally the assistant superintendent or whoever is the curriculum coordinator will go around and hand you these and kind of just tell you, hey, these are the state standards and this is what they look like. But now you kind of know where to get them on your own if you need to. As you scroll down the Mississippi Social Studies Framework, you'll see several things. They have a little art here, a state flag, the seal of the Mississippi Department of Education. I don't know what that is. I just don't know what that is. I think it's a globe, a green globe, and it has a house on it. A judge from the old English times with the wig and everything. The branches of government here, which is wrong because according to our founding fathers, they made the legislative branch a little bit stronger. If you ever study constitutional law, the legislative branch was actually made a little bit stronger than the executive branch, but they have the executive branch on top. So that's just a history thing. They always say we have 3 equal branches of government, but actually the legislative branch was designed a little bit to be strong. This is a state social studies framework adopted in 2010, but it's adopted every year, so the date always changes. Tom Burnham, State Superintendent, Lynn House, Deputy State Superintendent, Trakina Green, Chauncey Spears, and then there's the address. As you scroll down, you'll see this is the writing team. These are the people who own across the state helped contribute to this curriculum. So they try to a balance to it. They have some Mississippi State Valley. They have all the major universities represented. They have a lot of the local school districts represented. So they're trying to get a good balance to the system and create where they're kind of saying like it just wasn't one person who created the curriculum. A lot of people did. So, and it continues scrolling down. I won't point out any people, but some of these people are not even social studies teachers, which is disturbing to say the least. And then they had an advisory committee that I don't really know what they did, but the table of contents on the framework is pretty straightforward, and that's the one good thing about the curriculum framework that they provide is it is in order of the years taught, what subjects you usually taught whenever you're a teacher. So, for example, first, second, and third, and then all the way down. So that's the really good thing about this is it's in order and it's easy to find. So they could have done it alphabetical, which would have been a mess, but they did it by each year that you take it. So they have kindergarten and first grade and second grade. And then we finally get through all this, and it says, here's the purpose statement, the strands, the objectives, the competencies. So, and then what you do is you find what grade you're teaching and you go to that subject. So if you're teaching 11th grade U.S. history, you would scroll down and find 11th grade U.S. history. And that'll be this right here. So 11th grade U.S. history, you would find the section for the 11th grade history. They give you a little introduction on the United States history from post-Reconstruction to present. And then it scrolls down, and now we have the actual competencies and objectives. As you look at number 1, it says, understand the evolution of the American political system, its ideals, and institutions post-Reconstruction. So that is a competency that they believe that a student should have when they leave this 11th grade. So that's number 1. As you look at 1A, B, C, and D, this is where it gets kind of confusing. A, B, C, and D are ways that a person can master number 1. So if you're a school teacher and you see understand the evolution of the American political system and you don't know how to do that competency, you can look at 1C. It says explain, analyze the expansion of federal powers, and that's kind of like a helpful way on how you can and how you can meet number 1. So as a social studies teacher, you only have to meet number 1, 2. You don't have to worry about A, B, C, D, but those are ways that you can reinforce number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There are 7 competencies that they want teachers to master with their students during the school year. So if you look at some of these competencies, or let me rephrase that, if you look at all of these competencies, you will notice that they are very broad and easy to hit. Understand the scope of government involvement in the economy. So that could be the New Deal, that could be Reaganomics, that could be over history. That's a lot of areas. So what they want you to do with these competencies is as you're teaching U.S. history from 1877 to 1999 or whenever your textbook stops, they're wanting you to re-hit a lot of these competencies over and over and over again. And they're really easy to do. So on your lesson plan, you would put down what competency your lesson plan hits that day. So you're looking at 180 days of lessons over a school year. So ideally, you should hit a lot of these competencies a lot. So that's what the Mississippi framework is. It really doesn't give you a major guide. It just kind of gives you an overview of what competencies there are. So, as a history teacher, if you do your job just 5%, then you should hit all the competencies. They're not that hard. The question is, can you document hitting those competencies? And that's something that you want. Because think about it. If you're teaching U.S. history and a student is failing your course and you flunk that student, you really need to be able to tell their parents what state competencies they did not make. That is very important. And what you could say is, well, in chapters 1 and chapters 4 and chapters 12, we really hit competency number 2, and your child failed those tests. So number 2 is a big question mark for me. And then so you can really show some good documentation on that. The national standards come from what is known as the National Council for Social Studies. The National Council for Social Studies has 10 themes that they believe that all education should meet. Those themes are located in your book, but they also can be easily Google searched. Those are very easy to do, and we won't go in depth because the NCSS themes are very easy to make. So what you would do is you would write down on your Mississippi competencies in the top section which ones you're meeting. Well, what about meeting them all? Okay. Well, if you're meeting them all, then you can hit them all. But if you're doing, so you just want to document which ones you're hitting. So take that in and absorb that about the standards for the Mississippi and the national government. Remember, for the national government, we don't have a national curriculum. They're trying to do the core standards, you'll see later on, but we have what's called NCSS, National Council for Social Studies, which you just want to look up the 10 themes and find out which theme lines up with that. In our first column on the far left, this is the one we'll spend the most time on. And the first column is known as objectives. As a teacher, you're wanting to meet some objectives and make sure that the students are able to do a good job on this. So when you write your objective, let's go ahead and pull up a Microsoft Word document. When you write your objective, what you're wanting is some basic parts to it. So let's make sure we understand the basic parts. The first is who. And as an educator, you need to identify who you're going to be doing this objective to. So as a teacher, you say, well, who? And that's a real simple answer. The student will. So that's our first key phrase we're always going to use is the student will. Because in our objective, we're wanting the student to accomplish something. So if you're in the military and you're wanting to attack a hill where the enemy is dug into, you would put the soldier will attack the hill. And in teaching education, we say the student will. And then we have to put a verb. So the next thing is the verb. And with the verb, we're wanting to make sure that it's very important verb. The verb is the key that you need to take a pause to. You need to pick a verb that is strong enough for the students to do, but not too hard, and a verb that's not too easy. So you're saying, what are you talking about with this verb? All right. If I say the student will locate, and that's the verb I've chosen, what does that mean? Well, locate is a very simple action. The student will locate. They're going to pick something out. That's a very easy verb. If I say the student will discuss, that's another verb that's a little bit higher up, I would say. I mean, discuss is that. So say the student will evaluate. The student will recite, recall, draw. These are all verbs that we would want our students to do. But we're only going to pick one. So you think, well, what kind of verb should I pick? And now we enter into the world known as Bloom's taxonomy. So make sure you know where I am right now. Make sure you understand that we're talking about verbs, and we're talking about the student will, then the verb. Now, with that said, there are degrees of verbs. There are levels of verbs. If a verb is easy to do, it's at the lower level. And this guy named Bloom's created what's known as the Bloom's taxonomy. The Bloom's taxonomy says that at the very bottom are easy verbs, which are knowledge-based. At the very top are the hardest verbs, such as evaluation and synthesis. So, there are difficult verbs and there are easy verbs. So, if we look at some of the examples, design, construct, conclude, judge, solve, apply, predict. So, if I was going to create a verb and I wanted to have an objective that's very good, I might pick list. The student will list. So now we have, and we know that that is a knowledge base. So I may even put on here Bloom's knowledge. Now with that, we have an issue. And the issue is, a couple of years ago, the state of Mississippi got rid of Bloom's and they adopted depth of knowledge, also known as DOK. Now, DOK is the same principle as Bloom's. However, they have created their verbs on a level system of 1 through 4. So instead of having Bloom's knowledge and everything else, we now have DOK. So if you're going to use the word list, you can pull up your DOK chart, Google and find, and here's my DOK chart. And list is right here, and that is a DOK level 1. So when I go here, I can also put in. So now I've identified my verb both on Bloom's and DOK. So why do I have to do Bloom's if the state's doing DOK? Because some of your principals may still be doing Bloom's, and also if you look at Bloom's, it's better than DOK. So why did the State Department adopt DOK? Don't know. Don't know. But we're going to learn both, and that's the key to it. So now that's the hard part, is the verb. What level verb do you want? So a key thing to that is make sure you Google Bloom's taxonomy and you look at the verbs, and also Google depth of knowledge and look at the verbs on that as well. So now the easy part is material. The student will list, what do you want them to list? The causes of the civil rights movement. So that's it. The student will list the cause of the civil rights movement. Now, what level? What level does the student have to reach to master that material? And I can just say that. Then I can refine it. I can make it even better. So what I have is the level. Now, many people get stuck on the level. What does the level mean? You actually have to have a level of mastery. So what level does the student have to reach to master that objective? So in this case, the student will list 5 causes of the civil rights movement at 100% accuracy. So when I grade it, the student cannot have any mistakes on those 5 causes. And if they have any mistakes, then they did not master that objective. So it's a mastery. I mean, you can put 70% with less than 3 errors, stuff like that. So my final objective looks like this. And that's how I write an objective. The student will list 5 causes. You'll notice several things. One, there is a level. There are also, and this is the one thing that many people make a mistake on, there's only one verb. You don't want the student will list and draw. You want one verb. That's what you always want, is one strong verb. So as we look at this one, we're going to see some errors. One is the student will be able to cite. No. You want to delete the be able to. You want the student will cite 3 important marches, rallies that occurred in the Civil Rights era. And there's no level here. So there needs to be a level. The student will be able, I guess, to construct. No, the student will construct an essay. So it's kind of like an order. An objective is kind of an order. A student will construct. If they don't, then they don't master that. That is the nuts and bolts of how to write an objective. Now, you may ask the following question. What level should I make my objective? Should I do an easy one or a difficult one? And you're losing the big picture if you do that, if you think about that. It's not about the hardest objective wins, no. It's about the unit. So whenever you create your objectives, what you want is you want a progression and a regression. You want some easy objectives, some difficult objectives, and some easy. You want to mix it up. Students can't be challenged at a high level all the time. Not at evaluation. That doesn't work that way. There needs to be easy and difficult and medium and everything else. That is how you write an objective. The next column contains what is known as procedures. The procedure section, it doesn't have to be this in-depth as this column is. But the procedure section should be a breakdown of what the teacher should do in order to reach the objective. For example, this one says, the teacher will show a video clip showing masses of people on the mall in Washington, D.C. and ask the students what reason could make these people all come together. For 5 to 10 minutes, students will break into small groups for short discussion to answer these 3 questions about the 3 rallies. The teacher can pick any 3. Where did the march rally occur? What were the reasons that the march or rally were held? And what did the march or rally accomplish? So, that is the procedure that's going to get us to the objective. Material, civil rights, the struggle, and various video clips. Now, the procedures don't have to be in a paragraph like that. They can be very simple. But what we're looking for is 2 things. One is, do I understand it? And the second thing is, can a substitute teacher understand it? And that is very important. If a substitute teacher walks in and flips that page, can they open up and follow those procedures? That's what we're wanting. In the materials and media section, That is where you're going to put the materials you're going to need. Now, in the procedure section, you don't have to have take roll, walk around class, put the red ink pen up. No. It doesn't have to be that in-depth. Just a basic idea of procedures. Now, for the materials, what all the materials you're going to be using for this lecture, for this activity. Chalkboard, you can put that. But really, what all materials are you going to be using? Maybe put chalkboard, overhead projector. It just kind of gets where you're just citing whatever's in your classroom. You'll notice some little bitty things that are an issue here. One is various video clips. No. I want to know where you're getting those video clips. You need to cite those. You need to bring up the web. You need to find those. You don't just need to put various. Find the clips. Assessment. So we have our procedures and we have our materials. Those are two easy columns. The objective is the one that it takes a while to write. Now, assessment is how are you going to measure this objective? It can be several ways. And one way it can be is teacher observation. And that's a problem that I have with this lesson. Is many people put teacher observation, meaning I'm going to go around and observe and find out which students are not doing the objective. I don't like teacher observation. I like rubrics where you can, if you've got a rubric and you check off which student doesn't do something. That's better. I like tests. I like homework. I like discussions with a rubric. I like teacher observation with a rubric. I don't like just teacher observation. Now, this person put the teacher observation, no rubric. The learner will complete essays with 90% of accuracy. Those should be, the 90% accuracy should be in the objective. Also, some little issues with this is, see, I didn't show you a perfect one. I showed you a rough draft one. The one turned in later was perfect. Look at the procedures and the objective. The objective is the student will be able to cite 3 important marches or rallies. Okay. The procedure says that the teacher will show video clips showing masses of people. Okay. At Washington, D.C. and ask us what reasons could make these people all come together. And then the groups for short discussion and answer. The procedures aren't really lining up with the objective. The procedures seems like it's reinforcing the March on Washington, but not reinforcing the material that's in the objective. So I see in this objective a disconnect between the objective and the procedures. And I would tell you that. And I'm sure this is just a rough draft. So now in the second one, look at this one. The student will be able, I guess, to construct an essay answering a question on the importance of and the effects of marches and rallies of the Civil Rights era. Class discussion will then be held. Teacher will then ask for each of the group's answers to the 3 questions. Teachers will write each of the group's answers on the board. Teacher will ask. So, okay. But here's my issue with this. What's the assessment for this objective? There isn't one. There isn't one. This person put the assessments for, you can't do that. Each one, so there needs to be a number 1 by the objective, and then a number 2. Procedures number 1, procedure number 2. Assessment 1, assessment 2. You need to line all those up. The final column is kind of a question and answer column for you. And this is what Starkville started doing. Specify how each of the following will be addressed in the lesson. Student individual needs. And then you answer that. So you keep what's in bold, and you answer that last thing. Using knowledge students, you answer that. Integrating other subjects, answer that. So you can do that. That's fine. I like that column. It kind of helps answer some of your questions. So this is how you write a basic lesson plan. This is how you write a basic lesson plan. Now, let's get to the difficult part that makes this course more difficult, and that is called a unit. With a unit, you have to include what I call the meat. The meat. This is the bones. In a unit, you have to include the meat, which means you create a 3-ring binder, you create a notebook, and then in that notebook, you have to have tabs, day 1, day 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. Day 1, it starts with this, 1 page of this, your lesson plan for day 1. Behind this is all the material you will need as an appendix. So, day 1 would be this page. But in here, you're going to have to cite C Appendix 1, C Appendix 2, C Appendix 3. So, for example, when this person put materials and media, Civil Rights, the 1960s Freedom Struggle book, it should say C Appendix 1, and when I flip to page 1, behind this, there should be a photocopy of the book. Not every page, just the cover. Simple as that. If you say on the procedures, the teacher will lecture, you should say see Appendix 2 or 3, and there you have lecture notes. The teacher will give a homework assignment. See Appendix 3. There should be a homework assignment. That's the meat to it. So when you create a unit plan, you have to do 10 days of lesson plans and then include all the meat behind that. That's right. That's the difficult part of building a unit. You have to be able to create all the stuff behind that. But that'll take a month. Not really. It really wouldn't take long at all. When you do a lesson plan, I just wrote an objective right there, and then you put in the procedures. I would say it takes about an hour to do a lesson plan, so you're looking at 10 hours over 10 days. So you can space that out 2 hours a day. It's not that it really doesn't take that long once you get in the flow of things. The heart of it, the meat of it, shouldn't take long at all. You just start photocopying and put that in, and you build yourself something nice. Now, of course, what you're also saying is, I could never do this in a real world setting. That is not true. Because when you're teaching your first year, you can't do one of these every week. But you could do one every 2 months. You could make a unit on Reconstruction your first month, and you put that on the bookshelf. You could do one on the Great War, on World War II. You do at the end of your teaching, your first year teaching, you survived. You taught hard, you worked hard. Some days you were going day by day. But after 180 days, you've done 4 units. 4 units you're proud of. You built them and you're happy with them, and they're on your bookshelf. So you've done 40 days. Now, if you can do all 180, hats off to you. But you did 40 days. You did 4 units, and they're on your bookshelf. The next year, you did another 4. That's 4. That's 80 days. So within 4 years of teaching, you have every unit. You have 16 units. On your bookshelf are 16 3-ring binders. A unit for every 2 weeks. You never have to worry about doing another lesson plan for your boss. You can just photocopy. So what do you do then? Well, I quit now. You take your units and you teach them because you've worked hard on them. And you tweak them and you fix them and you make them better and better and better. That's the art of making a good unit. Is once you do all this, it gets pretty easy. But after my second year teaching, they took me off that subject and made me in another class. That's fine. U.S. history doesn't change from 1877 to 1945. You've already got 4 or 5 units on there. So next time, hopefully in about 5 or 6 years, I'll let you teach that subject again. But that's what art teaching is. You keep changing and you keep building units. But this isn't the real world. I get that sometimes. The problem we have is some of our administrators do not expect us to create these. So they're just happy whenever we just make something out of lesson plan. So do it the Mississippi State way, and you can do it anyway. And this is the Mississippi State way. It's an in-depth unit, and a unit is 10 days of lesson plans that has objectives, procedures, materials, assessment, and a 5th column we'll go ahead and put in as well. Very simple. Some issues. Let's talk about some issues I've had students have with this. And this is just off the top of my head. We'll take it case by case. One issue that is always present is the use of 2 or 3 verbs. So you definitely want to limit your objective to 1 verb. Solution. Take some time and write your objectives. Don't just rush them down. Put them down, write them well. Second issue. How many objectives should I have a day? Depends on your procedures. If your procedures and your objective is in depth, and if I'm looking at it and it's going to take 50 minutes to do that, then that's fine. But generally, but it's up to you. Think about time management. These right here, he's got a 10-minute discussion, 5 minutes done. Yeah, this is a 2 objective day because you can look at these procedures and realize it's not going to take 50 minutes for one of these objectives. Another issue. What if I put unit tests on all my assessments? Well, there's an issue with that. Don't make every objective one assessment. Unit test. Well, I'll assess everything on the test. You can put some things on the test, but make sure you mix it up a little bit. Do some homework assessment, stuff like that. What if I put unit test? Do I have to make a test? Yes. Everyone has to make a test in this class. That's in your unit. Everyone has to make a test. So make sure you can make a test. I'll just make an essay. Oh, good. Okay, have fun with that. But that's the thing is everyone has to do that. How should this be organized? How will I turn this in? Don't worry. It's going to be a 3-ring binder. And you'll have to get it to Mississippi State Meridian. Get it to my office. And end of the semester. But it's going to be a 3-ring binder. And a pretty big one, too. Because you're talking about 10 days with all the material in there. Simple as that. I only have one rule. One major rule. No glitter. Please, no glitter. Someone always puts glitter on there, and you can't get rid of that stuff. It's all over my desk, carpet, hair, everything else. Please, no glitter. On a more serious note, there are some page protectors, things like that are kind of cool. And what they do is you can get little they're clear ones, and you can slide those in there. They just make the thing look real nice. Can I get my unit plan back? No, we keep all unit plans for our in-CADE exhibit room. But you'll definitely need to turn it in. So you may want to make copies of it and definitely do that. But the unit plans are fun to make. They do take a while. I had to build one. I did mine at the last minute one time, but I still got it done. But so the units you'll get to really enjoy them. So, make sure I got everything. Yep, everything looks good. So just a recap of what we've looked is I've looked at unit plans. I looked at lesson plans. I gave you the distinction between lesson plans and unit plans. We talked about objectives, how to write those, procedures, materials, assessments, and that 5th column, which is something new we're doing, that definitely all you have to do is answer those questions. Another issue that many people always ask is, how can I get that template that you see here? You really have to make that yourself, and that is kind of frustrating, but you kind of have to make it yourself. All you do is you go into Microsoft Word and you just need to tweak these. But I'll put all these online so that you can see these. Real simple to do. One of the last things I want to show you is kind of a teachable moment. Is I want to show you a new thing that they're doing. It's called cloud computing, and so I'm just going to take this time as a teachable moment and walk you through something real quick. The cloud computing movement is, if I'll close this out, is where you're taking, in the old days, let me take it back a little bit. In the old days, whenever we first got our computers, our memory's on our computer. So if you bought a 200 megabyte computer, then you had 200 megabytes of memory. Real simple. But you were limited to the fact that you could only put some things on your computer. It also kind of chains you to your computer. So if you have your computer software and your files and everything on your computer, then you need to go back home to get those. So people always say, well, it's at the house, or I got to go. So that's fine. Well, then they started coming up with the 3.5-inch floppy and the big disc, and then CD-ROMs. You could burn a CD, but burning a CD was kind of a headache because it took a while to burn, and sometimes you only burn a CD once, and it's a big mess on that. So then we started seeing what are called flash drives or jump drives. And jump drives are you take it to your computer, you hook it up, and you take it somewhere else. Well, that still becomes a problem. The problem is you're depending on your computer. You're depending on a physical memory. So what are you talking about? I'm talking about data. I'm talking about sharing data. So one new little software came up that I want to share with you that you may use and you may enjoy. It's free. I'm not associated with this. I'm not affiliated with it. I don't make any money off this, but it's kind of a real cool thing. And what it's known as is Dropbox. And what Dropbox is you go to Google and you just type in Dropbox. And it's right here. It's right there. It says Dropbox. So you click on Dropbox, and there it is. It is completely free. It does not cost you anything. That is the definition of free. Because I'm the cheapest person in the world, and if it cost anything, I probably wouldn't get it. And what you do is you download this. And it takes like 2 seconds. You download, no big deal. And when you download it, all you get is a little icon on your desktop. I have a lot of things open, so let me see if I can minimize a lot of this stuff. You get a little Dropbox icon. It looks like this right here. That's it. That's all you get is a Dropbox icon. And it's quite amazing. You double click on your Dropbox icon, and all it is a folder. That's all it is. It's just a folder. And you can put stuff in this folder. So I have photos. I have this. Oh, look at that photo. That's my little son. He's a pirate. He's dressed as a pirate. That's just what he does. So he actually has 2 eyes. He just had the eye patch on. But kind of cool. But you put everything in your Dropbox. So here's where. So this is like, well, this is just a folder. Here's where it's even better. If you have an iPhone or an iPad or a smartphone or anything like that, or another computer at work, a computer at home, or anything like that, any computer anywhere, you can put this Dropbox app on your thing. And I'll show you. I'll play around with it real quick. So you can put this Dropbox app on your phone, and anytime you put a file in your Dropbox app, it goes to every file, every computer that you have the Dropbox app on. So whenever you upload something, it goes there. Kind of a cool little thing to do. And that's how that works. That's what a Dropbox app is and what you do with Dropbox. So if you want to save something, you want to put something there, you can open up a file. Right click, copy it. You put it right there. And by putting that file in there, what I have done is I put that file in my Dropbox app, which has now gone to everywhere. And what's this? This is a video that I just put from my iPhone to my Dropbox. on my iPhone, which is now here too. So how does this work? This app right here is not on my computer. It is on the internet. So anything I put here, all of a sudden, is being on the internet. So it's a server. It's like Gmail or Hotmail. It's called the Dropbox app. I thought you might like that, especially since you're about to start building a unit, and you may have some on your home computer, and some on your work computer, and some on your laptop. And with the Dropbox app, with internet access, you can share all those files. Hopefully you learned something from this. It's a very simple lecture, very straightforward lecture, and it's about lesson plans. If you have any questions, just send me an email. Please do if you have any questions.